Alright, here we are at NOLA Motorsports Park. This is Intermediate Run Group A, first session on Sunday of the Optima Ultimate Streetcar Invitational. Some very talented drivers in this group. Not quite expert level, but certainly have had a little bit of road course experience. And you'll soon see that some of them turned out some pretty good times. It had rained all weekend. There was standing water in some areas. Obviously, this is lower Louisiana, which is pretty much sea level and zero elevation changes. So I was being really cautious with the car. This is only the second time I've had it out on a road course, and I'm trying to learn these new tires and suspension setup. And so we had it turned all the way down, had the traction control on full, just to be a little extra safe. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to put the power down that was available to me, and I really wanted to truly try and learn the car a little bit more. This first lap out, we're just kind of getting warming up the tires, trying to find some lines, put a little space in between us so that we won't have to do too much passing, but sometimes the passing part is inevitable. On this first lap, you'll see that there's a lot of just casual driving, again getting the tires warmed up for the fun later on. So now we're getting a little heat in the tires and starting to find out that it's about time that we overtake at least our first car, and this was going to be the El Camino. I had started at the very back of the pack simply because I wanted to spend a little time learning and feeling the car out and the track out a little bit, and I was starting to get a little more comfortable. So at this point I was letting the driver in front of me know that it was time to point me by. In this particular course scenario, you could only pass in specific zones, and you could only pass when you had a point by. And so here's our first pass of the day, and we'll start to turn it up a little bit. There was a lot left in these S's. I just wasn't feeling super comfortable with the car yet. There seemed to be something that was just a little bit out of balance, especially when I was trying to make turns to the right. The car wanted to oversteer heavily. Now granted, you'll see here I do a little correcting, but I think the biggest problem I had was not enough faith in the brakes, even though those brakes stopped the car so well, and I was braking way too early. I just wasn't ready to get them heated up to the point that I knew they would be. Here we crack it open just a little bit more. I want to say this is where we hit close to 140-ish on the top straight. You'll see a 165 here in a minute. May not be in this session, it may have been in the next session, but again, I just wanted to make sure that I feel the car out a little bit more. It felt unbalanced most of the day, and I found out later that my driver's side rear shock was slightly taller than my passenger side on the coilover setup. Also, this car is running on the original stock bushings. All of the stock knuckles, everything down there is stock except for those Penske coilovers, which are a good 15 years old, and they are in the process of getting serviced, and we are working on some better spring rates because I think the springs were too soft as well. See, things got a little bit too squirrely right there. Again, I was late braking into that corner, and when all that weight transfer goes up to the front of this car, that rear end lifts up, and if you start to turn those wheels before you get back on the gas, that rear end is going to come around on you. So we make it around the tight turn, and this time we open it up a little bit more. Again, I've got the car turned down on as low power setting as it can possibly be, which is around 800, 900 to the tires. And water patches, not fully feeling that braking zone and the distance to this turn one. I didn't want to stay in it too long, but I can promise you the more comfortable I get with this car, we will make a return trip to NOLA and we'll hit a 180 on that straight. I don't doubt that for a second. So here comes our next pass. Getting a little more comfortable going through those S's, but still fighting the unbalanced suspension of the car. Here we're coming into the last turn, and we open it up a little bit more on this straight run, but at the end you'll see there's a black flag and we got to slow it all down. Spend the rest of this lap cooling down, and taking it to the pits. So until next session.